So hello guys, that's Invest Ultra coming, and we made a decision to discuss MicroStrategy. It's a company which is, I don't know, what do you think of it? Maybe it's a leverage Bitcoin or a treasury company or what, hardware software business? What's that? But that's definitely a thing, and we would like to discuss it today. And we have just a perfect guest to discuss it, Herbert Ull. Hello.
Thank you so much, Alexander, for having me. Really an honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Could you please tell us more about your relationship with MicroStrategy? And I would also add that you are a German engineer, AI enthusiast, 3x tech founder, crypto stock venture investor, and you did first meaningful investments in Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, Tesla, and Solana, what, 4 years ago? So you have quite an experience. So could you please tell us more about the MicroStrategy phenomenon? So for our listeners who might not be deep into crypto, how would you explain what is MicroStrategy, what is strategy, what it has become such a prominent topic in both traditional stock market and the crypto space?
Yeah, so my history with MicroStrategy goes really far beyond. So, MicroStrategy was one of the mobile companies in the dot-com bubble. And so that was the point where I met Michael Saylor, actually the CEO and biggest shareholder, first time ever, So it's back in the 2000s, It's so old already, So that was why I was knowing the company in a kind of. And they start as a normal software business, have 100 million revenue around that in their software business, business intelligence kind of thing, what they did. And Michael Saylor simply just identified he's going nowhere. He has a cash operating business, so he generated cash. He got the valuation on the stock market, but at the end, there's no growth, there's nothing at all. And he had to make a decision whether he would like to rinse and repeat it every year and get into boredom and die on this, or on the other side, whether he brings the software to a new level, to a new part. And he learned about Bitcoin at that time and understood it more. And that's more a different thing from a really global perspective, from a macro perspective, that we have to see that there are two different financial monetary policies in the world. The one thing is the Keynesian economics, which is where we are in the Western world, where everything is simply just central banks and the intervention of them and the fractional reserve banking and all of these things, which means if there's a downturn in the economy, they start to put money into it. Or on the other side, you have the scenario where it goes up and then they bring it a little bit down and raise interest rates. So it's a really more centralized management approach. The opposite side is where we come from, a financial system where we have a gold-backed kind of system, or any kind of scarce asset-based system, where you don't have this kind of up and downs, where the market is regulating it pretty much by themselves. That calls Austrian economics. And the Bitcoin phenomenon is Austrian economics. So everything which goes more to Bitcoin means actually it's Austrian economics, and that means let the market do their stuff, and not having a central bank which is at the end skimming up all the interest and doing everything. All the inflation we are seeing is totally arbitrage and absolutely not necessary if you're working in the Australian economics, right? Michael Saylor saw that and was understanding Bitcoin more at that time. And so he was seeing the stellar performance what Bitcoin had in the years. So the bull run through 13, the bull run 17, 18, all of that. And then in 2020, he decided to make a big jump and say, well, actually, Bitcoin outperforms everything in the market, at least 3 out of 4 years, and also over time, over phase, the halving cycle from Bitcoin means 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 year up, 1 year down. That's the characteristic of Bitcoin, at least in the past. And then he made the decision of it. It was very, very interesting to see that this was happening. And then he started to become a Bitcoin treasury company. And fast forward to today, they are the largest Bitcoin holder in the treasury side, over close to 700,000 Bitcoin right now. The software business is still there, but totally meaningless. I think under 1%, I think under 0.5% of their value is actually based on the software business. So I wouldn't be surprised if they would sell it off if they find a buyer for it, but I think that would be difficult. But they are today more a bank and a financial service institution around Bitcoin. That is what they did, and they started with that in 2020. So it's simply just their goal is let's accumulate as much Bitcoin as we can and put more to the Bitcoin there. And they have very intelligent ways to accumulate value for the shareholders, which means when you hold an ETF, you have just an ETF, and your creed and your appreciation is exactly the same as Bitcoin is, minus the management fees, of course. But by Bitcoin is by MicroStrategy, with the way how they do it, every month, every year, you have, for every share of MicroStrategy, you own more Bitcoin. So the smaller unit of Bitcoin is Satoshis. And so they have always more Satoshis every year per MicroStrategy share. And that is what makes them more interesting. So you just have one share, but your Bitcoin value rises.
I have a question, Herbert. And what is the percentage of this increasing?
Let me share a chart for that so that you can see it visually what they're doing. Let me just see whether I can share it here right now. Let's share this one. Do you see the PowerPoint right now? I guess yes, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when you see this one here you see that the percentages from 2020 starting. So in the 2020 it was to 21, 47% more. 2021, 2022, 2023 was pretty much flatline. And then they started with issuing other bonds kind of thing, Bitcoin-backed bonds kind of scenarios. So there were a lot of scenarios there. And you see 2023 to 2024, 74% more. In 2024 till today, it's 25%. So this is the reason why MicroStrategy, the value of MicroStrategy is higher than the value of Bitcoin, because you buy more Bitcoin in the future with that automatically included by buying MicroStrategy. And you see that here on the other slide here, that is from the MicroStrategy website. They have right now a value of around 1.5 times Bitcoin from their holding. That means at the end, when you see that they had here 25%, within 2 years, you will, when you buy today MicroStrategy and they hold the accumulation of more sats from 25%, you will have actually a better deal when you hold MicroStrategy compared to buying Bitcoin directly. This is how their financial engineering is working.
I have a devil's advocate question. First is actually both two. One of them is I could see lately, last year, many followers all around the globe, especially Japanese, but not only them, who just replicated the strategy. They started to become a Bitcoin custody, Bitcoin bank. So how does it stand from the position of strategy for MicroStrategy with its rivals? And is it a threat? That's the first one.
No, I think very careful with all the treasury companies. So there's a lot of, I call them zombie companies, which were death, and they got, oh, we have some cash, so let's buy some Bitcoin. So and a lot of the companies will not make it. I'm pretty confident that the demise of these companies will will lead to kind of Bitcoin prices go down when they are forced then to sell their Bitcoin. So treasury companies is not every treasury company is a good one. MetaPlanet in Japan is leveraging a very special legal framework in Japan where they are really good. And that's why they have a really high enough. They are really higher enough than actually MicroStrategy, but that is specific to Japan. And also as a Western or European or not Asian person, I wouldn't invest into MetaPlanet just out of security, because the market there is different and there's different rules why they are going up and why they're there where they are today. For MicroStrategy, it's a positive thing. So they are so far beyond everyone else who has Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have much more power than everyone else. For them, it's simply just as more demand on Bitcoin is there, as higher their stock goes. So for them, it's really a kind of a net positive as more treasury companies are coming, and nobody would be able to challenge them really. There's a lot of alternatives right now where Wall Street companies are trying to build up MicroStrategy parallel companies. But to accumulate close to 700,000 Bitcoins, as more they have, as more scarce the market becomes. So it's an exponential curve where we are in. So this would be very positive for MicroStrategy.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is, very often MicroStrategy trades with a significant premium to its Bitcoin holdings. I would say most of times. And most of time it's not 100% correlated with the price.
Yes.
So maybe that's a new question. And I would like to, could you please share your expertise? Where do you see this premium sustaining in the long term? How is that possible? And is it like normal? If we could use the word normal here. And the other one is why is Bitcoin is more volatile than MicroStrategy as of now?
Okay, so the volatility, you see different phases. Sometimes Bitcoin is more volatile. Most of the time, is MicroStrategy is much more volatile, because the investor have to understand what MicroStrategy is, you know. And I think it goes, I would like to tie back to the question from Andre before. It's, does MicroStrategy should trade pair with the Bitcoin holding, or should it be above the Bitcoin holding? So the answer is because they're accumulating more Bitcoin per share all the time, they deserve to be traded on a surplus, so that they have a positive greater than 1 MNEF, as we call it, right? So that is absolute the point. A lot of people don't understand it because they don't see that you get more Bitcoin per share over the time. And so there's a very popular trade to short MicroStrategy and go long Bitcoin and make the arbitrage. All of these people are losing their shirts, you know, because with the if MicroStrategy is able to generate more sats for their shares, where you short gets higher value, and then at the end you lose money with it. This is a trade I would absolutely recommend everyone to stay absolute out of it, because if you understand MicroStrategy, you know you bet against them, and they are the best in doing that, and they have the market power. They're the biggest issuers of corporate bonds in this year and in the last years, and all of the bonds generate more sats for your MicroStrategy shares. So that is a very, very risky model, and it shows when people go to that model that they are not understanding what MicroStrategy is about. So this is about MicroStrategy, how high the MNEF should be. That is, from my understanding, classically just the question how good they are in accumulating more Bitcoin per share, and that's the only thing I'm really looking into. If I think there's a multiple from 2, 3, I'm fine with it. So right now they're doing 25%. If they have a MNEF on 1.5, I'm happy with it, and I think that's a fair valuation of them. If they would go to 2.5 right now, I would short them, you know, because that's too high. because then I have to wait 5 years in order to get it, and the market is not stable. It makes no sense. If they go under 1.5, so more 1.4, 1.3 MNEF, and they have it on their websites, you can always look it up. Then it's a point where they are undervalued, because then when they do 30-40% in per year, after more than 1 year, you have more Bitcoin than you would have if you buy directly. So with that, that's a kind of level I'm looking at right now, where the MNEF is. And yes, it's a great arbitrage opportunity. MicroStrategy was coming from a discount to the net value to a huge premium. And that was the point where they were so volatile, and that was really a fun ride. So that made MicroStrategy actually, starting in 2020 when they bought the first Bitcoin. Since that time, there's the absolute outperformed every other investment instrument in the public market. So they were even faster than Nvidia. So it's unbelievable. And when you leverage that with options, it was a fun journey. So that was my experience with MicroStrategy when I bought it in 2021, and I bought options, and was in synthetic longs there. So it was pretty much 100x what I was able to do there with that kind of stock in a normal environment. So it was very, very interesting that this is actually possible.
And do you have an opportunity to do the same? I could see people buying leaps for MicroStrategy. Actually, Nvidia, MicroStrategy, Tesla, those are popular companies for options.
Yes.
So is there an opportunity now? What do you think?
I think now, no. Yes, leap option for MicroStrategy is a good thing to do, because you simply just buy MicroStrategy on a leverage. That's simply just what you do with a leap. Normally, you have to see how the volatility is. Now the volatility is a little bit lower, which is good for the leap prices comes down. You always have to buy leaps when the volatility is low, so you have a low premium in there, and the stock price is low as well. So the time when I buy leaps is when I see the NAV premium goes to the 1.3 kind of area. That's beautiful. And when there is low volatility, that means both comes together. MicroStrategy is cheap, and the addition of that, the risk premium, the volatility premium is low as well. Then the leaps are super good, super cheap. And then there's where I back up my truck and buy it. And then when the volatility goes up and they go back up to 1.5, 1.7, or approaching the 2, then that's the time where you either sell it or you enjoy simply just the profits, But it's always the time when to buy it. And you have to buy always when the other says run away, and when the people are saying buy, that's normally the point where you should sell, because psychology makes us normally, we would like to buy low and sell high, but psychology makes us always doing the opposite side, and so when we are FOMO in or FOMO out kind of thing, So yeah, it's simply just the way how it is.
Yeah, buy when it's blood in the tweets now. Before it was when it's blood in the streets, now it's blood in the tweets. From the risk perspective, Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, what is biggest risk, and what are other risks holding Bitcoin against MicroStrategy? Directly Bitcoin or MicroStrategy? We were talking about opportunities and financial model which gives you more with leverage. But what are risks, like leverage risk itself, counterparty risk, I don't know, risk of a person, because that's one person company?
Yeah, it's very difficult to answer this question, because it looks like strategy has found a way to play the market and could potentially reverse the bond market. So the bond market is not really working so well with all the government debt and these things. So bond at the most, cash is trash, I think is still a good comment. today, and bonds are trash, is cash, you know. So when people come from the old 60-40 portfolio kind of modeling, they had a bad time in the last years, and it looks like how the market is and how the government debt is going forward. It might be potentially a bad investment going forward if you don't arbitrage against different currencies and all of that around. There's always sweet spots within it, which is very good to do that. From MicroStrategy, it's the question, do you believe that they are absolutely managing their risk accordingly, and are you in trust with it, because they are leveraging actually Bitcoin, right? And if you're in trust with their risk management, MicroStrategy is the better option. But of course, it's a company. A company has different risks, and so you can actually be in a position that MicroStrategy has a revolution internally. You know, the Wall Street owns MicroStrategy. So interesting enough, Vanguard is the largest shareholder of MicroStrategy. Even they are not allowing customers to hold Bitcoin. You know, it's a kind of really funny situation, so you do not know what they would like to do, and there's risk and opportunity in that. So, for example, if some nation state would really like to have a lot of Bitcoin, let's talk about the US at that stage, the easy way for them would be buying MicroStrategy, simply just, you know, and they can do it potentially by law or other stuff. That is the things where you have to be on the watch out for. But that will be probably an opportunity. This opportunity is not there in Bitcoin. And if you hold Bitcoin and you self-custody it or have your own custodian who are taking care about that, it's yours. You are in control. But the company in Bitcoin, in MicroStrategy, you are not in control. It's a classical company like Microsoft, like NVIDIA, like all the other ones. So it's really personal preference. I think you will see a little bit better performance on the MicroStrategy side than Bitcoin alone in the current market. But it's depending what kind of Bitcoin derivatives will be coming, that you can really put your Bitcoin to work, that you get interest on it, that you simply just can make more money out of it. So it's really a question of the personal mindset of the investor. Yeah.
Okay, talking about debasement, because what were you talking about the debasement currency? We're talking basically about
Yes.
debasement US dollar with all this debt. And in my view, the Genius Act, it's another try to put their treasuries into something people like now, like more modern, in a way of what? Tether, I think they use for now. Yeah, Tether is backed by US treasuries. But if we're talking about debasement, we think about gold usually, okay?
Yes.
Or metals, gold, precious metals. What
Yeah.
else? Land, something with appreciation against inflation. And Bitcoin narrative is that's the digital gold. Do you support this narrative that's digital gold?
Absolutely. And so in my personal perspective, it's I see crypto as everything outside of Bitcoin. You know, so Bitcoin for me is an own class because it's like precious metal, you know, it's digital gold, and I think it still has a long way to go with that narrative, and so that Bitcoin is not innovative and Bitcoin has no dynamic in there. From my personal opinion, that's a feature and not a bug. So I'm happy that they cannot move and they are not moving. And I say that as a technologist, which normally would hate it, you know. But that is the beauty. You don't want to have gold doing something. It's simply just there, and it cannot be changed. And this is exactly what Bitcoin is mimicking on the digital side. And the value of Bitcoin is exactly that, is a preservation of capital. And when the difference between digital gold and gold is simply just try to go with a ton of gold over the border, you have a problem. Take Bitcoin on your stick and you don't have any problem, you know. So it's easy movable, it's accepted everywhere, and you can transact all the time. There are actually satellites in the ether where we can transact, even the internet is down, and things are not there. So I think you can really self-custody, and it's a point of when you see systems are changing, and you see right now we are in the fourth turning, or however you would like to call it, the end of the long-term debt cycle, or there's so many theories on that. The reality is we are up for a big change, because the one period came and it starts to get over. And at that time, you will simply just have this kind of problem, that you need more fixed assets. So what you were saying is when the currencies goes down, so gets devalued, inflation goes up, you need to have fixed assets. So like real estate, land, precious metal, all of these things. And but the problem what you have if you buy normally fixed assets, you are based on your government location, because you cannot move between borders. And in today's world, we do not know what country will be a good country to live in 5 or 10 years. We don't know, actually. Yeah, what seems to be really a perfect place to be today can be the horrible place tomorrow, depending on how all this stuff is working out. Yeah.
I wouldn't expect this statement coming from you, actually, but thank you. Yeah, because for us that's obvious lately, but for you, I wouldn't expect you to make this statement. You mentioned something about MicroStrategy, considering or thinking or having its strategy about becoming a bank or some kind of financial institution. Could you please tell us more about that? What perspective do we have here?
They are already being it, actually. So they are issuing a lot of bonds, and they're mimicking the yield curve. So they have a money market stock which offers you 10% interest rate. They have some other stuff which is long term, which is 8%. You can have convertibles in the way. So they have a whole palette on financial instruments already entering the market, and that's what made them the biggest corporate bond issuer in the world this year. And they are not stopping there. So in the past, they were offering convertible bonds in order to generate more interest and to be able to buy more Bitcoin. And now they are having the stock, the stocks, and all the beautiful acronyms they have. You can look at the website and to see all their strategies. Also, what I highly recommend if people are interested into that, look at their presentations from their quarterly earnings. They describe it really, really well, and it's very, very educational. And that is coming back to my first comment about the financial systems. So they are classically the provider of a banking system, which is 100% backed, no fractional banking, so it's Austrian economics, and they are issuing that. So at the end, everything is backed by Bitcoin. Every issuance, what they have, is backed by their Bitcoin, what they have, and that's how they generate the increase of Satoshis per share, where at the end it comes down always to Satoshis per share, MicroStrategy. And with the bank services, the Bitcoin services, that's the way how they generate that. And they are the most trusted, because biggest and most experienced company there. And forget all the thoughts that they will go bankrupt or other stuff. They are managing, at least till today, their risk super, super well. And everyone who talks about they cannot pay their debt and it will be ruinous for them, I think they should go to an economic school and learn what they're talking about. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was really surprised when I see that they do not have secured debt, only unsecured. So that's the great point you mentioned. Yeah. But by the way, I heard about your rule of thumb strategy to buy when the ratio of NAV to market price is a little bit more high and so on. So maybe you can share with us more some more details, some more specific how you price and when you choose to buy and to hold and to sell.
Yeah, happy to do so. I can show you that simply just on the chart. That's most easy to look at a chart there. So let me see. I think here I have it. Let me just share this one. So but let's go here. So what you see here is that is. I always think in pairs. So normally we think in currency, right? You buy something, Bitcoin versus US dollar, you would look like this chart here. And I'm on a weekly chart, so really long term, you know. And when you look here in MicroStrategy, that's the course of MicroStrategy, how MicroStrategy worked over the years. And you see here was the debasement phase. That was then where there were pretty much a run through, and here in this year's that was where it was going parabolic, you know. And when you make a new chart and see MicroStrategy divided by Bitcoin, you know, then you see the relation between Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. So that is this chart here. That chart, if MicroStrategy would work in tandem with Bitcoin, it should be a flat line, you know. Because at the end is when you just say MicroStrategy holds Bitcoin, it should move and go down with Bitcoin. It should be a flat line. And you see, it's not. And that's our trading opportunity, you know. So you see here, that is pretty much the baseline, what they had. And then it was running up from 24 here. At that time, that was in January 24, that was when the ETFs was approved, you know, and the Bitcoin ETFs. And so at that time, they were trading in a discount because everyone was thinking, okay, now the ETFs are coming, and it was trading in the discount. And then they went on a tear, what you can see from here till the top here, that was what you can see 436% within 280 days, 287 days. So let's call it 4x in half a year. And here they were absolutely exuberant, you know, that was absolutely not really anymore the case. But when you see you have a top and you have a bottom, you have a top and you have a bottom, that is exactly how you can trade them. So here on the top, you're selling MicroStrategy for Bitcoin, and you can simply just do it MicroStrategy versus IBIT ETF or any kind of other ETF. And here, when you see the bottoms, you are then simply just going in, and here you buy then again MicroStrategy, sell your Bitcoin and buy MicroStrategy. Here you do the same, and you see this kind of movements here, and it is around 50%, you know. So with every buy and sell, you have an opportunity to make 50% more by just rotating. And I think this rotation is my arbitrage kind of scenario where I'm looking at. And you see where you're right now here, pretty much on a bottom scenario here. We have to see how it will build out. We have already in my indicators, I have already one resistance here. When I see here really a bottom building, normally a long wick or something like that, you know, then you know this is the time to back up the truck and then let it run to the upside. So think about right now, MicroStrategy is in the verge of getting included into S&P 500, which is absolutely not understandable why they are not in there. They are under the top 100 stocks in the S&P 500. They have the best performance from every stock, but it's still a personal meeting which makes it happen. It's not an automatic. But when they will be included to that, I think you will see another run like this, you know. That's why I'm right now starting to position slowly more again into MicroStrategy, because I think now it's relatively cheap. And with the inclusion of the S&P 500, which I probably will come in my estimation within the next year, then it's a 50% move just from there.
Thank you very much. So if we see the graph, we are not in the bad day to buy some.
No, but it's a long-term buy. So you saw it was a
Yeah.
weekly chart. It's not a daily trade kind of thing, and try to go there. But if you see where there's a relative strong undervaluation or an overvaluation, every of these waves are normally 30 to 50% move by itself, and that is normally within a half a year. So and that's a pretty nice return.
Yeah. So guys who are watching now, you must.
You have to go. We get it. We have to. You
Yeah.
have to go. You have to go and buy your lips. You can wait. It's not opened yet. You can wait until exchange with options would be opened. So that's
You
okay,
must
can stay.
understand it's not an investment recommendation, but it's like 20 times return for the last 10 years. So this is a very big opportunity and a very large deviation, standard deviation, very high volatility stock. So you must consider if that is appropriate for your portfolio.
Yeah. So
Do
nothing
your
can be.
own research, as usual.
Nothing is financial advice, just to show out how the technology is working. And Alexander, you're absolutely right. If you would buy MicroStrategy with leaps, you have a 3x multiple on that, around that as a leverage, up to 5x depending on how you can buy. But that would mean the 50% becomes 150% or up to 300%. You know, so it's very substantial what you can do with this easy arbitrage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But we forgot we were talking about Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, and Bitcoin, because that's we were talking about, and that's Bitcoin treasury company, and not only that, but this year we had another horse. We did 1/3 and became popular. It was popular, what, 3 years ago? Yeah, 4 years ago it was quite popular. Then it popped. And now it's coming again. So we're talking about Ethereum, obviously. What do you think about Ethereum value proposition? Because if we think about Bitcoin as a digital gold, new type of money, blah, 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 whatever that. What do you think about Ethereum, like world computer? What's that? What's... I would like to tell that it's good for developers, but Solana proves it wrong. So I don't know much more about Ethereum to support this view here, but does it have any, I don't know, support wave to go up also?
I hope I don't shock you too much, but Ethereum, out of my understanding, is the worst investment you can do. You know, why I'm opening up with this kind of provocative statement, because the only thing what Ethereum has worked for them right now is the marketing, and it's not substantial. So technology-wise, it's a shit show. 14 transactions per second is pretty much, you can do nothing with it. Wall Street is right now aping into Ethereum. Just about the narrative, that they're just about the narratives, you know. And Tom Lee is the biggest sales guy I ever saw, you know, so I love him dearly and I'm a big fan of him. But he has no technical clue, you know. So when you look really substantially, I'm an engineer, so sorry, I love the narrative, but I love the fundamentals much more, you know. And so I moved pretty much all my Ethereum, what I had, because Ethereum was the economic engine on this, to do that. But the reality is that Solana is eating Ethereum's lunch in every dimension, in a big way. And it's 20% of the market cap from Ethereum, you know. So it's hilarious. I can show you some slides on this one to compare it.
Yes, please.
And for me, that's a proof that the market can be irrational and sometimes longer than you're solvent. But on the other side, for me, in my thinking, is think about Ethereum like Yahoo in the old time, and Solana is more the Google, you know. And it's just a question of time till the market is understanding that. And when you see all the important narratives like real-world asset, stablecoin chain, and all of that are all right narratives, but technology-wise, it cannot be handled by Ethereum. It cannot be handled by any other chain on Ethereum. The only one who can handle that is things like 100% proprietary centralized chains like Base, like BNB, and these things. But any other chain is not capable to pretty much handle or doesn't have the adoption on that. And Solana has built a total infrastructure. They have actually, and a lot of people don't know it, is 00 project. They built their own internet in order to be able to be that fast that they are, because they are actually having finality times, which is pretty much light speed. And if you have a congested internet, it wouldn't even work. And they are faster than Visa, they are faster than MasterCard network and all of that around. But let me share some information with you there. And I think the market is starting to pick that up. So let me just share this one here. So you see right now, let me go here to that one here. So what you saw was Tom Lee was starting to push it, and the asset under management here, that is information from CoinShare, publicly available. On the 23rd of May, they were by $14 billion under management. They jumped within the short period of time to over 40 billion. So the people were really aping in. That's a new story. That's the stablecoin chain and so on. So that was the narratives which are there. And then when you see right now is that are the inflows in the ETFs. You see here the last days, they're already starting to have outflows. They have a $500 million outflow on September 5th, for example. When you see here, they're already losing numbers. So the first cracks on that strategy is already to see that some things looks like some people are already going out because so much money went in, and they're looking right now for the final backholders, you know. And we can look later on in the chart of that as well. When you ask, for example, here, I did a small question about Sol and East comparison out of, I think that was ChatGPT, something just, they say, well, okay, have a look at it. So market cap is half a trillion to 100 billion. So 20%, that's interesting. So ETH is 5 times larger. Transactions, oh, ETH does 50 million, but Solana does 3 billion. Oops. Why does the chain, which has a lower market cap, does so much more transaction, you know? 58 times, you know? The revenue, Solana made 40 million revenue, that's nice, but Solana made 150 million revenue. Oh, so Solana makes more revenue, but is valued lower. That's interesting. So that is 3.8x. Daily active users, DUA. It's simply just here you have 700,000 in average on Ethereum, and you have between 2 and 3 million on Solana. That makes no sense. So if you look at the data, it makes no sense at all, you know? The only thing which is there that the money flow, the inflows, was 3 times higher or 2 times higher in Ethereum than it was in MicroStrategy in Solana. So it makes totally no sense. And if you go a little bit deeper on the technical side, I know it's hard to read here this one, but it's simply just data where it shows in all the different categories, average fees, transaction by daily active users, daily active users, daily transaction, TPS, so the transaction per second, all of the relevant things, how you would evaluate a normal company. You see here underneath, Solana wins, 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 Solana wins. There's no point where Ethereum actually winning, you know? And that is by a big margin. When you see it here, it's 9 times better. So especially Nakamoto index, which is super important, how decentralized the chain is, how much it can be manipulated. Solana is 9, close to 10 times more decentralized than Ethereum. Ethereum is 2 nodes. If they're in the cahoots, they can manipulate the blockchain. And maybe that's what Wall Street wants. I don't know, right? But that is simply just, the numbers are pretty clear on this one. And when you see here the revenue by chain, you know, look at how Solana is by $1.2 billion. That is from DeFi Development Corp. Ethereum is by $500 million here. Hyperliquid is also pretty much close to Ethereum, and they just do trading, leverage trading, actually, yeah. And then Tron comes, and it goes down like crazy. And another chart to represent that is Hype and Solana are doing 60% on the revenue, but just represents 3% of the market cap. I sniff an opportunity here in my world, you know. Also, no financial advice, of course, right? And when we look at that in the charts, you would be even more amazed about that. So when I go back to the pairs, and I say I always love a nice chart there. So when you look at this as Ethereum versus Solana, right? So when the stock goes down, when this chart goes down, that means Solana is the better asset to be in. And look how Ethereum got smoked by Solana. So when you sit here, we go back to 2023, you come from always here, then Solana was bleeding, Ethereum was bleeding against Solana, Bitcoin. Here they had a recovery, and then it went down hard. And so all the euphoria in the market right now, what we see is where Solana comes from here, went to there, and see what's happening right now. Solana gets back into the lead. It's just a small recovery. So Ethereum had his time in the sun, and now it's time back to get to data and understand that Ethereum is not the chain to be in. That's how I see Ethereum. So sorry for crushing, from my perspective, the narrative from Ethereum. I would everyone highly recommend, if you are data driven and you believe in data, Solana is the horse to ride right now, and that is the Google, instead of sitting on the horse with Ethereum and sitting on the old Yahoo kind of approach. And in addition to that, Solana will get a lot of headwind. They're expecting to have the ETFs from Solana, the big ones, approved within the end of the year. Or some people are more optimistic on that, but they will come. And there are right now treasury companies building billions of dollars, actually raising them, the same what they did with Solana, it was Ethereum. So then Solana will actually explode.
Actually, that's a point. That's a point. We asked you to come. We invited you to hear your point of view. And actually, my motto is, in God we trust, everyone else must show data. So yeah,
Yes.
I like your view on that. I would like to make like a summary. And what I've heard, that might be, I would be cautious, that might be a moment to learn more about MicroStrategy LEAPs or MicroStrategy shares for long holding. And also that might be a moment to learn more about Solana. I wouldn't say to buy. People would like to see a red button with buy, okay? But we are not doing that. We just suggest people to learn more about that and make their own research. But before our interview, you told me that you have some kind of insider in your family. And could you please share also, I can not ask, okay? Now, could you please share your view about data centers and other stock shares of stock market? Maybe some kind of data companies or cloud companies, something like that.
Yeah, I think what we see in the market, so the general trend. So I'm more a concentrated guy from a portfolio perspective. I like to have a balanced portfolio, so diversified, but in the different sectors, I'm very concentrated. And the narrative I'm seeing, which is right now driving the whole market, is all the autonomous AI kind of revolution we are driving towards to it. And when we see what is running there, we see a pretty clear demand on data center, which is super heavy. And one thing is there, what we talked about at the beginning, yesterday, Oracle has a beautiful day. They were popping 40%. And because of their data center business, and Oracle is in the data center business since I look at stocks, and that's a long time ago. And so this is where they have the expertise in data center. It's not about their software, it's not about anything else, but it's the demand on data center is so high. And so we can see the old shuffle play, right? So, when we had the gold rush, not the people who looked for the gold was really making the most money. It was the people who are providing the jeanses and the shuffles and all of that, And that's the same thing in the AI data center kind of thing. You can look into energy. Energy is a very scarce thing. If we see any kind of disruption in that market, you can go in. There are some specialized companies also which are just specialized on cooling solutions for data centers. Absolutely needed, And so you can see in the chain what is needed in order that AI is prevailing. So it's not just the AI companies like XAI, like open close course, like that ChatGPT kind of thing, and Anthropic and all the other AI companies which are in the LM space. Also not just the robotics which we see right now, where they go one after the other right now in public. So there are opportunities not just in the first layer, but what do they need to have in common, what they need in the background. That's energy, that's data center. And so there are a lot of things where you can look into, and it's normally always good to look in the second and third degrees of that, because the first one is obvious, everyone is aping into it. But the underneath things are not so clear, and so there you somehow find some gems in order to look into it.
Thank you very much for your insights. And I guess I used the word interview, but that's not an interview, that's a podcast, okay? And please put your thumb and subscribe, and please share with your friends if you think that's useful. And maybe it will help you or them, your friends, to make some additional money or to avoid losing them just with this beautiful mindset. And I think I would like, we didn't finish yet, but I would like also to invite you to the next podcast, but with the theme for what's the best place to live in your view, whether it's like Asia, Europe, USA, what's the best, I don't know, country, city, or where should we live in the future? Yeah, I think that would be nice. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for coming. It was really beautiful. I enjoyed a lot, and I'm gonna re-listen to that after, because even though I focus when we are recording this, sometimes I would like to listen again and maybe find something more. Thank you for coming, Herbert. It was a real pleasure to meet you, and have a nice day.
Thank you for having me. It was a joyful discussion, and it was really beautiful, and some surprising topics. But anyhow, I found it very, very interesting in the way how you guys seeing the market, how you discuss it forward, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And thank you for sharing all of that to the world and for the people, because I think this is so important right now with the change in the phase of the life where we are in. There's no good and bad somewhere, right? And there's media try to separate everything in a big way, which is unfortunately not true, you know. So I know a lot of my US friends are considering moving to Russia, for example, you know, which is a crazy thing for according to the mainstream media, you know. But also what you mentioned, it's so hard to identify because we get so much propaganda fed and also from all sides that it's so hard to see where's really the good place to live and where to be. I think it's a great topic to look into it, and also the same with the investments, right? There's so much interest-based stuff, and but the reality is we have to prepare ourselves for the biggest change coming. We are in the end of one cycle moving over to another cycle, and that means we absolutely have to see that we have a clear head and that we have a good state. That is the most important thing. And in the meantime, let's see that we make the most money we can make, because we will not have so much time anymore to make money with our salaries, you know, if we have still salaries, you know, because that time will go over the next whatever 3 to 10 years. There will be no capabilities anymore that I can give my time and get money for it. It will go away. So investment becomes the most important thing, because we will most probably go from a wage age where we are right now into an ownership age going forward. And so this is why it's so important to have ownership and to be invested in the right things. So many thanks for all of that, and very happy that you put out the word and help people to understand that, and so that they can prepare accordingly, because it will be a tough time mentally. It will be a tough time financially, which is coming forward. So people which are were in a good state before can be in a bad state after that, and the other way around. And I think you provide the information which is needed to help the people going in, having the choice to go in the right direction, or into the direction that they choose. So thank you for much. Yeah, really thank you for it.
Thank you, Herbert. Thank you for ideas, and hope you see you very soon.
Yeah,
Thank you very
likewise.
much.
Likewise.
Thank you very
so
much. It was amazing.